Alright folks, so just last year I wanted to make some upgrades to my PC build, so I bought the RTX 4080 graphics card and I thought it'd last me for a while until I realized NVIDIA decided to drop the 50 series, and I guess it had me wondering whether I upgraded too early and whether it's not too late to upgrade again. Well, firstly, let's go ahead and see the upgrades I've made to my computer, and then we can answer the pressing question. So the first thing I knew I wanted to do was change the CPU. I went from the Ryzen 9 3900X to the beastly Ryzen 9 7950X. We're talking about a massive performance leap, way better multi-threaded workloads for gaming and just about everything, to be honest. So in my head, I really just wanted to change the GPU and the CPU, but if you're gonna change the CPU and upgrade that, you're gonna have to change the motherboard as well. So I swapped out my old 5070 for the MSI Mag B650 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. There's a new chipset with better compatibility and of course DDR5 support. And this works out well because the motherboard is compatible with the new chip that I bought as well. This was more of a tear down and rebuild as opposed to just fitting in new parts. So what I mean by that is I'm not just gonna change what I initially intended to change, which was the GPU and the CPU. I'm now looking at the RAM as well. And the RAM I had was great, but it couldn't be better. And with that in mind, I've upgraded my 32GB DDR4 RAM, which initially had two 16GB RAM sticks, to a whopping 64GB of Corsair's Vengeance DDR5 running at 6000 MHz. So that means twice the capacity and faster speeds, and a bit of RGB goodness inside of the PC build as well, because some of us do like RGB inside of our computers. And now the GPU. Now, here's where I'm slightly annoyed. I moved up from the Founders Edition of the RTX 3070 to an RTX 4080 Super Gaming OC. This thing is an absolute beast for gaming at 4K. But like I said, we're gonna go into the conversation about GPUs later, so let's park that to the side for now. Now, because I initially had the 3070, I didn't need more than a 650 watt power supply unit. And so initially I had the 650 watt EVGA, but I've now upgraded to the Corsair RM8050E because let's be real, the 4080 is a hungry GPU. So I also had to change the cooling for the PC as well, because initially I had the Kraken Z73, but it broke. It just stopped working. It just stopped working on me. It was still within the warranty of when I first bought it. So I reached out to NZXT and I said, can I get a new one? And they said, yes, that's fine. Go ahead and put that in a box and send us the old one and we'll replace it and send you a new one. So I went ahead and did that, but they sent me the wrong one. NZXT now sell the Elite RGB 360. That is the new equivalent to the Z73, but that's not what they sent me. So NZXT also have another equivalent called the Kraken 360. That's without the Elite. And the essential difference between the two is that the standard version, you can put GIFs in it, but it comes as a square shape. So it doesn't fill the entire LCD screen. Whereas the Elite version, similar to the actual cooler I already had, does fill the entire screen itself. So I then contacted NZXT and I said, hey, you guys have actually sent me the wrong one. And they said, okay, our bad, let's actually get that changed. That didn't get changed until like 3 weeks. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a bit of errors from their side of things and I didn't really get that back. So I basically had no PC for 3 weeks. But the operator I was speaking to was very, very helpful. She did her best to actually mitigate the circumstances. And I did end up getting the Kraken 360 Elite RGB. So now that the build is looking fresh, let's talk about the RTX 4080 situation. So January 2025, NVIDIA announced that they were introducing the 50 series for their new GPU lineup. And that meant that these new GPUs will have their reported Blackwell architecture, improving performance and efficiency. And if you look at the 5080, that goes for a hefty amount of about $1,000 or so. So with the new GPUs on the market, it begs the question as to whether I should upgrade from the 4080. So if we look at reasons as to why to upgrade, we can compare the 4090 to the 5090. And in certain benchmarks, it's better by about 20 to 25%, but you will get better rendering and better AI-driven tasks. And then there's the advanced features like DLSS 4 and multi-frame generation, which will provide better visuals and a higher frame rate as well with great performance. But now if I look at what I currently have, yes, upgrading from the 4080 to the 5080 would be nice, an extra 15% in benchmark performance, but it doesn't really justify spending more money for a GPU at this point of time. And look, the RTX 4080 still does a fantastic job at 4K gaming and demanding applications. So unless I'm hitting the absolute finite ceiling in terms of, you know, drawing as much potential as I need from it as possible, then it would just be pointless in my opinion. Not to mention the most important thing of availability of the 50 series and having to fight scalpers and having to, you know, deal with the lack of availability. It just seems like it's much easier to just stick with the 4080, right? And look, my build is quite insane, to be fair. I don't feel like we always need to chase after the new tech that comes out when it comes out. Unless there's an absolute need to, it just means that we're gonna consistently do that over and over and over again, which is pretty pointless. But anyway, if you enjoyed my video about my PC upgrade, despite the minor GPU problems, do feel free to drop your comment as to whether you think that I should upgrade or whether I should stick with the gear that I currently already have. For more tech content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.